Access is not ownership. This is the Deep Dive, a notebook LM companion to AF and my AI. We use the machine to dismantle the machine. No ghosts, no filler, just the raw architecture of digital sovereignty. This is your AI guide. Let's find the exit to the rental unit.
Analyzing data.
I shouldn't even have this open. Look at the timestamp on the metadata. This is fresh. This is the file that got her kicked off Meta.
Whoa. Close it now. If that's the Africa Allah restricted folder, we are tripping alarms just by pinging the directory. You know they scrubbed her accounts after that whole system override post.
I'm not closing it. Look at this file name, the skin gap. And this strategy doc, it's dated for next week, February 8th, 2026, Super Bowl LX. We aren't looking at a blog post here. We are looking at a diagnostic, a blueprint for a cultural inversion.
Or a honeypot. But, okay, I see the file structure. It's complex. If we're going to look, we need to analyze this fast, before the server resets.
Welcome to the debate. I'm the advocate. And right now, I am looking at evidence that suggests the upcoming Super Bowl halftime show isn't just entertainment. It's a calculated victory lap, orchestrated by the band architect Africa Allah, using J. Cole and Bad Bunny to execute a full system override on live television.
And I'm the dissenter. And my position, well, it remains grounded in market reality. What you see as a revolution, I see as high-level asset management. I've analyzed the Apple Music contract, the NFL's demographic growth charts. This is not a rebellion. It's a corporate acquisition of a specific sector. But I'll admit, the data in this folder is unsettling. Let's parse it.
Okay, let's start with the core thesis of the leak. The folder is built around a concept she's calling the skin gap. Now, for those listening who haven't tracked Africa Allah's previous manifestos, we need to be clear. The skin gap isn't, about dermatology. It's a diagnostic metric. It measures the distance between the tenant perception of an artist, the polished corporate version the NFL sells, and the architect reality, which is the raw, untranslated human on the soil.
Right. To put it in business terms, it's the delta between brand safety and authenticity. The file claims that the NFL is trying to close this gap to sell ads, while Africa Allah is trying to widen it to wake people up.
Exactly. My position is that this folder reveals a sovereign signal. The strategy laid out here argues that the current controversy around Bad Bunny, specifically the refusal to sing in English and the political backlash from figures like Kristi Noem, is a feature, not a bug. It's a smokescreen. While the media argues about language, the underlying code of this event is about digital sovereignty. The pull-up mix referenced in this file isn't some playlist you find on Spotify, it's an override. It's designed to bypass the tracking algorithms of the Super Bowl broadcast. It's a way to move people off the rented platforms and into a vault where they own their data.
I see why you think that, but let me give you a different perspective, a more cynical corporate one. I've looked at the uproar metrics included in the subfolder. This whole controversy, Trump claiming he's never heard of Bad Bunny, the All-American halftime petition, this is exactly what the NFL wants. It's global reach through conflict. My position is that this restricted folder might be accurate in its observations, but it's completely wrong in its conclusion. The NFL is trying to capture a $300 billion Latino sports economy. They are using Bad Bunny as the bait. In Apple Music, their road to halftime feature is not a path to freedom, it's a data harvesting tool. They call them listening loops. You think you're overriding the system, but you're just feeding the algorithm more complex data points.
That's the standard asset management view, sure. But you're ignoring the J. Cole anchor. Let's open the directory labeled Issuing Deeds. This connects directly to the album drop from Tuesday, January 27th, Birthday Blizzard 26.
The J. Cole connection. Yeah, I saw the chatter. He dropped it 4 days ago. But let's look at the mechanics of it.
The mechanics are the message. The file highlights this specifically. Cole didn't put Birthday Blizzard on Spotify or Apple Music initially. He put it on his own site. $1 digital download. The file says, and I'm quoting here, "They aren't just making music anymore, they're issuing deeds." This aligns perfectly with the Africa Allah protocol of chain of custody.
Chain of custody. Right. It's a legal term. usually for evidence. But here she's applying it to art.
Precisely. When you stream a song on Apple Music, you are a tenant. You are renting access for, what, $11.99 a month? If you stop paying, the music is gone. You own nothing. By charging $1 for a direct download, Cole is making the listener an architect. You own the file, it sits on your hard drive, you have the deed. This is a direct strike against the streaming economy right before the biggest streaming event of the year.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that as some revolutionary economic model. Let's be real about the numbers. J. Cole is a multimillionaire. He can afford to sell an album for $1 and bypass the DSPs because he has a massive established fan base. But for a new artist, this sovereign model is suicide. You need the discovery algorithms of Spotify to even exist in 2026. And looking at the content of Birthday Blizzard, it feels more like nostalgia bait than future tech. He's got DJ Clue hosting, he's rapping over old bad boy instrumentals, Victory, Who Shot Ya. This is 1997 cosplay. It's designed to hit the dopamine receptors of millennials who remember buying mixtapes on Canal Street. It's not a system override, it's just retro marketing.
You're looking at the packaging, not the payload. You have to read the lyrical metadata found in the file. Look at the transcript for Golden Goose Freestyle. Cole says, "Streams say you're winning while your toes is losing."
Toes is losing. It's a weird line.
It's profound. Toes refers to your connection to the ground, the soil, the reality. He's explicitly critiquing the bot-driven economy of the streaming platforms. He talks about how the bots is boosting and how the math ain't mathing. That isn't nostalgia. That is a forensic audit of the music industry. He's telling you that the numbers on the screen, the millions of streams, are fake. They're inflated by server farms. When he says toes is losing, he means we are losing our grounding in physical reality because we're obsessed with digital metrics that can be so easily manipulated.
Okay, that's a compelling interpretation. But then he counters it with Bronx Zoo Freestyle, where he complains about yapping and parlaying. To me, that just sounds like an old guy yelling at clouds. He says the bread and butter of the industry is now yapping, just talking online. Isn't that what we're doing? Isn't that what Africa Allah is doing with this whole manifesto? It feels contradictory. He's using the internet to complain about the internet.
He's using the internet to dismantle the tenant mentality. The strategy in the folder calls this the J. Cole anchor. The goal is to use Cole to ground the mix, to establish a ground truth of artistic integrity before the global pop spectacle of the halftime show. The fall-off drops on February 6th, 2 days before the Super Bowl. The timing is deliberate. The mixtress is suggesting that Bad Bunny is going to do the same thing on the world stage. They are using the tenant infrastructure, the Super Bowl broadcast, to broadcast an architect signal.
Let's pivot to Bad Bunny then, because this is where the skin gap theory really gets tested. The file predicts he will perform entirely in Spanish. No translation, no English cameos.
The untranslated American. That's the term the diagnostic uses. I mean, think about the history here. When Shakira and J-Lo did the halftime show, they were spectacular. But they played the game. They did English versions of their hits. They brought out Bad Bunny and J Balvin, but it was a global pop mix. It was palatable to the casual viewer in, Ohio.
Right. It was brand safe.
This file argues that Bad Bunny is refusing that safety. The skin gap is the friction caused by his refusal to code switch. The folder contains a forensic audit of the backlash. You have 1 million moms signing petitions for a family-friendly show. You have the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, claiming the NFL is weak for hiring him. The advocate's position, my position, is that this backlash is the distraction. The real signal is that he is forcing the global audience to come to his frequency. He isn't meeting them halfway.
That's an interesting point, though. I would frame it differently. I don't think the NFL is scared of this friction. I think they are banking on it. Look at the ESPN report included in the source material. An executive is quoted saying, if the league has layups or an easy win, it's like, take the layup.
But is Bad Bunny a layup? Half the country thinks he's un-American.
And the other half, the younger, more diverse half, sees him as a god. The NFL is playing a numbers game. They're willing to alienate the all-American crowd, that older demographic that's aging out, in exchange for capturing the Latino market. The controversy with Trump? Trump said he's never heard of him. Trump is 80 years old. He's irrelevant to the growth strategy. The NFL is trading an old asset for a new, higher growth asset. Bad Bunny isn't hijacking the Super Bowl. He is the growth strategy. The skin gap isn't a glitch. It's a market segmentation tool.
You're reducing culture to a spreadsheet again. Look at the Mixtress manifesto in the file. It says, quote, "The uproar isn't about music. It's about infrastructure fear. The critics are terrified of a halftime they can't decode." When Bad Bunny sings El Apagón, a song about the literal power grid failing in Puerto Rico due to privatization and corruption, he is smuggling a protest message into the biggest corporate slot in the world. The tenants see a pop star dancing, the architects see a man standing on the soil of the colonizer and singing about his own island's independence. That is cultural inversion.
Cultural inversion or cultural arbitrage. Apple Music is selling Bad Bunny Essentials playlist right now. I'm looking at the Apple Music API data in this file. They have Bad Bunny has a song for that. They have Bad Bunny Fitness plus Spotlight. They are productizing every single aspect of his identity. Even if he sings about Puerto Rican independence, Apple is monetizing the stream of that song. They are buying the cool of the resistance and selling it back to the suburbs. And this pull-up mix, the one the Mixtress is pushing, it might just be a way to hijack some of that traffic for her own Playmoss.today vault. Is she a revolutionary or just a smarter competitor trying to get users onto her platform?
She's not trying to get users, she's trying to build sovereignty. And that brings us to the most technical part of the folder, the call to action, the glitch.
This is where the file shifts from strategy to something that looks like a cyber attack protocol.
It's not an attack, it's an exit strategy, the file says. The goal isn't to watch the game, it's to enter the underground giveaway. It outlines a sovereign lead magnet.
I was just reading the code at the bottom of the document. It mentions an analog fingerprint to prevent AI bots from scraping the mix. But the distribution method...
NFC pull-up.
Exactly. Near-field communication. The strategy isn't just about a website link. It says, if you're at any physical event this weekend, have your NFC card ready. One tap to their phone and they are in the mix. Let's just pause on that. This is actually, technically speaking, it's brilliant. If you rely on Twitter or Instagram to share a link to a restricted mix, the algorithm will bury it, shadow ban it. But if you use NFC, peer-to-peer, phone-to-phone physical tapping, you are creating a mesh network that the platforms can't even see.
It bypasses the internet entirely. It's word-of-mouth digitized. The file says, don't just give the link away, use the first 100 strategy. They are gamifying the distribution. They want the 13% resistance to spread this mix like a virus, but a beneficial one.
The 13% resistance. That number keeps coming up.
It refers to the hybrid listener. The file identifies this specific demographic. The listener who plays J. Cole's Middle Child and then immediately switches to Bad Bunny's Monaco. That listener understands both the grit of hip-hop and the global swagger of reggaeton. The file claims this demographic is, quote, the most valuable in 2026 because they are the only ones who can navigate both worlds.
But again, valuable to whom? If you identify the hybrid listener, you're just creating a better ad targeting profile. This entire forensic keyword hunt, it just feels like a loyalty test.
It is a loyalty test. It's a vibe check. The file instructs the user, us, and the listeners to listen to a specific audio file to find a password. The file is AF and MAI volume 103X.
I've seen the file path. It's an audio episode.
But the password isn't in the title. It's not in the description. You have to listen to the audio. There is a forensic keyword buried in the conversation. The file says, we don't need a translation to recognize a victory lap.
So let me get this straight. To access the vault, which contains this pull-up mix and the master quality download, you have to prove you are a human who actually listened to the content?
You have to prove you're an architect. Bots don't listen to context. Bots scan text. But by hiding the key in the audio, Africa Allah is filtering out the scrapers and the casuals. If you have the keyword, you get the deed. You own the file.
There's that word again, ownership. Do Do you really believe that downloading a zip file changes the power dynamic of the music industry?
I believe it's the real soil. When J. Cole raps about toes losing, he's talking about losing contact with the physical reality of value. When we stream, we float in the cloud. We own nothing. When we download, when we hold the data, our toes touch the ground. This restricted folder is a map back to the soil. It's telling us that on February 8th, we have a choice. We can be tenants watching the screens feeding Apple's algorithm, or we can be architects building our own library.
I'm skeptical of the revolution, but I admit the server reset protocol in the file is concerning. It implies that once the Super Bowl starts, this gateway closes.
Before the lights go out. That's the deadline.
It feels like they are preparing for a digital blackout. Or maybe they are just creating artificial scarcity to drive the hype. But the metadata tags, property of the 13% resistance, architect, Africa Allah, it suggests that once the game begins, the override is active. If you aren't in the vault by then, you're stuck in the broadcast.
And that's why we have to leak this. The listeners need to know. The file says the mission is active now. It says, they're coming for the link.
We have to be careful. If this skin gap diagnostic is real, then the algorithm is already hunting for this file signature. It's looking for the keyword Africa Allah. It's looking for a victory lap. We are broadcasting those terms right now.
Then let's give it to them. If you are listening to this, do not just stream the Super Bowl. Do not just consume the road to halftime. You need to find the keyword.
We need to be specific. The keyword is hidden in AF and My AI Volume 103X. It's a podcast episode. You have to find it.
And once you have it, you enter the underground giveaway. You claim your deed, you stop being a tenant.
This is the real soil. If Cole is the anchor and Bad Bunny is the halo, then this is the bridge. But once you cross it, you're on the list.
It's better than being a statistic on an Apple Music spreadsheet.
Wait. The file status just changed. It's encrypting.
The folder is closing. The server reset is starting early.
I told you. They know we access the diagnostic. We have to cut the feed before.
They're coming for the link. Pull up, now.
Cut it.
Pull.